Hello and welcome to Conscious Love. My name is Maria Appelqvist, and with me today I have Elie and Destin Garrick with me. I'm so happy to have you here. Warmly welcome.
Well, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here and be a part of this.
It is. And so for some reason, I define you as one of the conscious couples I'm interviewing. And I know Destin since before because I've interviewed you before in my radio show. And Elie, you're new to me. So we're going to go into how you met. Maybe, but first, let's start with what consciousness means to you.
Okay. Consciousness, to me, at its simplest, is to bring awareness to that which previously one was unaware of, to shine the light where previously there was darkness. So this, as we grow as humanity or individually, we become more aware. We become aware of the shift in consciousness that's occurring now, in my view. A major part of that is a growing awareness of our interconnection to one another, to as well as to the planet and to all that is. Away from this notion that this notion of separation, that I, me, my is completely a separate thing from you. And that notion of separation, I feel, is what has brought us a lot of the difficulties that we deal with in the world today, because there's so much competition as well as manipulation amongst human beings. This way of the way humans too often deal with one another is, let me, especially a place like the United States, let me get mine, and if it's at the expense of you, that's okay. And as we get to gain this awareness of, there's like, I am you, you are me. We are all in this together. From certain spiritual perspectives, we are all God. We are all source. We are all this, a part of this larger divinity, and it changes how you move through the world. So of course, I'm living a life of service, because your benefit is my benefit.
That's really beautifully expressed. Elie, do you have something to add there?
Well, I mean, everything he said, and I think consciousness is what keeps us moving, what keeps us evolving, and a lot similar, like what he said. It has to do with awareness. So everything that's in the unconscious world, or like subconscious world, everything is interconnected, and I feel like when we're accessing the consciousness to make decisions from that place, then there's that individuality. But really evolving as a human being is sort of going back to that understanding of that interconnectedness, of that oneness, and making choices in each moment, like understanding that we have choice in every moment is what, consciousness has to offer us in the ways we move through the world.
Which, of course, has a huge impact on relating.
Yeah. I love that, being aware of your choices and making choices. And I know that you just actually recently made a conscious choice to get married. And I'm curious, like, how did you meet and what attracted you to each other, and what made you, why did you take this conscious decision?
Wow, that's a long story.
Remember, we have 30 minutes total.
Right. So we met 14 years ago in San Francisco. And to make the very long story short, I would say what attracted us was this. To me, it was an unseen force that somehow we shared. We were in a very different, place from where we are now today, but yet there was this something that was really connecting us. And our connection was pretty immediate. While we had this, very strict boundaries as very special friendship.
She was in a relationship when we first met, but that didn't stop me from introducing myself.
And eventually we'll play games. We'll play energetic games. While we had no idea of what Tantra meant or even energy, what it meant, but we'd drop into this eye gaze, not knowing that it has a name. It's actually a practice.
Yes, you're distracting me. She had her boyfriend was back in Japan at that time, and we're both really committed to respecting their boundaries of their relationship. So it was very clear we weren't going to kiss or beyond, and yet there was this ever-growing magnetism between us. So we were just playing in these places literally for hours, but not kissing, not crossing any boundary, but really having such a hot experience that may not have been crossing a boundary by letter of the law, but so that was that. I mean, we were early mid-20s at that time, and I'm 39 now, so it's some time.
14 years ago, and you've been keeping the relationship alive, or what reconnected you?
Yeah, we had that type of friendship. Have you ever had that type of friendship where even if you go a long period of time without having any communication, the moment you do, you're just right back in with one another? That's how we always were. And I mean, honestly, years ago, I gave up on any idea of us. And again, she used the term, we were just very special friends. And she used to tell me that, if she ever ends up getting married, her husband's going to have to understand her special friendship with me. And her husband does understand her special friendship. And about 5 years ago, 8 years ago-ish, she moved back to Japan. I moved down to LA. Life paths seemed to go separate ways. 4 or 5 years ago, I took a client to Kyoto, Japan on an international spiritual sexual coaching adventure. And I chose Japan primarily because I hadn't seen her in ages, and she'd been trying to get me to come visit. She came in at the tail end of my work with him and had a major impact on his transformation. He leaves. She and I have a full week-long torrid love affair. That was the first time we were in complete no holds barred with one another, and it was great. But then I came back to the U.S. and she was halfway around the world, and I thought that was it. But
I'd like to say the universe had a different plan.
Yeah,
because I wasn't even aware of it. This is where, for me, it started out wasn't so much with the conscious, this is what I want. It was more really, literally my subconscious talking to me. It was my womb speaking up that I want this man to be the father of my child. And it really shocked us both because we didn't even have a relationship, the romantic relationship at the time. And of course, as weird as I am, I just spoke up what my body was telling me, and it shocked both of us.
And I wanted to run away.
But unfortunately, there was our 10-year anniversary was coming up.
We noted that it was 10 years from when we first met, and we decided we were going to meet in Hawaii, which is sort of halfway between California and Japan. But she was managing an ashram in the Philippines at the time with a spiritual master, and wasn't able to make it out. So she came out to visit me in following February in California, and so it all began. So that's where we count our relationship officially starting.
I so feel your love story. Like I'm got shivering in my body.
There's a lot of love in it, and as long as that was, I mean, of course, there are so many more complexities and elements of beauty and difficulty and
differences and everything.
Yeah. I mean, a big part of why is that we got to this. There was this recognition that, on my part, there was this recognition that we have seen each other's absolute best. We've seen each other's absolute worst. We've seen each other through so many different other partners. We've seen each other through so many different phases, and our bond has always been there.
I was even a third in his relationship at one point.
Yes, and we had a couple of threesomes.
Yeah.
With my ex.
Yeah. And I loved how you were saying that you felt your womb was speaking to you, that this is the father of my child. Yeah. Wow. My gosh. So I guess the question, like, what's different in this relationship from other relationships seems to be like superficial, but maybe you can somehow dig into that one.
Well, for me, like I already shared, it was the womb directly speaking to me. I didn't even understand what that meant. I had to have him help me figure out what that meant. And so he would take me through questions like, okay, so let me understand. You want my child, meaning do you want my sperm?
You want me to just impregnate you? I mean, you live halfway around the world. How do I feel about that?
I don't think I'm into being a single mom. And then he's like, I was like, I think a child deserves a father. And so he's like, so are you saying you want to be with me? And I'm like,
I was pretty thick.
I guess that's what it means.
So what makes this different from your previous relationships?
I've never had that kind of communication from my body.
Yeah, and I'm also hearing that you were actually speaking your desire. So it was like you were speaking your desires, and that really comes from a woman and a man being in their power and being in their sexual power.
Especially for me in the past relationship, it was not so much me making the move, so to speak. It was usually the men approaching me, and the relationship kind of unfolds.
She was very bold. You know what I mean? Here we were talking over Skype from halfway across the world. I hadn't seen her in over a year, and she's basically saying, I want your child. And I would know the other thing that she said that really struck me was that she was very deeply committed to her path of enlightenment, and said that, I'm 5 years into working with this spiritual master, and when I think about this woman that I'm committed to becoming in the world, and I think about like who I want to be that woman for, I just think of you. And one that's extremely flattering, but it was also very scary. But her response afterwards was really affected me. She was like, you know what? You're going to respond. I realize you're going to respond however you're going to respond. And that's okay. I just know what my truth is, and I want to express that truth to you. And that was very attractive. It wasn't a needy or grasping, like, I want you to have my child. It was just like this, it's just like this is my truth. And I am solid in myself. I'm okay no matter what. And I'm like, well, do I want that? How do I feel about
that? Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah. What challenges do you think or seeing that you're having in this relationship?
What are our challenges?
Well, I mean, we were living in a different country.
The first 2 years were a lot of airline expenses.
I'd say it was romantic, meeting in different places of the world, but at the same time, it's it's the long distance challenges that we dealt with in the first place, and how are we navigating our relationship to others in that. I think at a baseline we have very different pace. I'd like to say he's really fast and I'm really slow.
Yep. So it's taught us a lot, though. Like initially, it was really difficult for me. I'm an Aries. I move. Yeah, I move. I get done. I go. And I have had to learn patience. I had to learn a lot of patience. I think that it's taken her time to really understand how if we're doing anything together, I am in a practice of patience because we are moving at a very different speed than I would be moving.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Sagittarius, but I have this Mars in Capricorn, which is like the slowest, the structural. I need plans. I need to, know each steps ahead of time and making those sure steps. So it's complete opposite. For me, it was really practice of flexibility. I knew those were like very clear from the beginning.
Well, that flexibility, part is also the fact that I tend to be very spontaneous, and she tends to be very structured and planned.
Yeah.
So when our relationship became official, his initial, reaction was like, "So, are you moving next month?" And I'm just like, "No, at least another 12 months."
I think my internal response was more of like, just don't go back. So that was a major difference. It's taken us a lot to learn how to navigate.
Still,
yeah,
constantly.
Have you found that you needed or haven't been thinking about having some kind of structures together? Like it was this from the beginning, the A-gazing, but do you see that you have, as a couple, created some kind of structures that you're...
Yeah, it leads to the rituals. So we have a few rituals that some of them have arisen spontaneously, but we've held on to, and some we very much planned. One before every meal. First, we do this brief Japanese gratitude ritual, bringing hands together and saying this word "itadakimasu." That's a whole other thing. But we added to that by, after we do that, no matter what, we turn towards one another. I place these two fingers under her chin.
Oh.
Before every single meal. Sometimes even more so. and even when like if we're having some form of conflict between us, and then we could go to eat, and then we know that we have this
coming.
And there could be this sort of like, oh, okay. And the ritual kind of helps break us out of the contracted energy into like, okay, like
sort of resetting.
Yeah, and it's not, especially if we're very contracted, it's not necessarily an automatic, okay, everything is wonderful now, but it still puts cracks in the armor that then
I really love that. And I'm also seeing that, and maybe because, Elie, I think you're also into the conscious sexuality work more. So I'm thinking maybe this is a part of really being there, is you bring that more almost animalistic, like that kind of feeling out of sneezing each other and bringing you back into that. I love that. Being aligned with your sexual energy.
So that's the other thing, like we bring that into like throughout our day, every day. Spontaneous kisses where one of us is walking by the other, just like maybe grab each other in, or it's a smack on the ass, or
grab.
Well, it's just so wonderful because I'm just feeling the impact you're having on me, just being you. You get me so much grounded in my body and feeling my body. So it's really impact.
So we make a point of it being part of our, like, throughout the day, every day. I think that particularly through our work with couples and our work individually as well, that it seems that a lot of couples, it's like they are sexy with one another if they're going to have sex. And if they're not about to have sex, it's like that part is turned off.
Yeah.
And we keep that thread of sexual energy flowing between us all the time.
Yeah, I
And
love that. That's such a great teaching to all couples, because they switched it on and off, and you're keeping it there.
Well, I think then there can also be that fear that can arise sometimes for couples of, like, especially when there's where one person wants it more than the other, that, well, if I, as an example, if I kiss him, then he's going to want to have sex, and I don't know if I want that. And so, like, we don't really link them in that way. This is a tantric aspect of it as well. It's, we kiss to kiss, you know? I'll grab her hair to grab her hair.
It's the pleasure in being in the present moment, of feeling her hair and feeling the kiss, and not, it doesn't have to lead to anything.
And you know, we have sex to have sex, and we have orgasms to have orgasms, but you know, that they can all be for this moment's experience, rather than we do this in order to do this, in order to do this, in order to
this is for you such a weird question, but since I'm asking everybody the same questions when it comes to your sex life, and I just assume we can have a conversation about it, but is there something that is new here for you compared to previous relationships?
Well, I know exactly what's very, very different for me is that I feel really safe in opening up sexually in this relationship. I've had a past of like abuse experience, and there was the like, even the idea of being dominated. I had this full body resistance, and here in this relationship, I mean, I remember the moment when I first actually felt that, okay, maybe I can try this, or even try to enjoy this. And I remember, like, I think it was in LA, it was one of the visits, and I just like bursted out crying, because I, even just from feeling that level of safety. And so from there, like, it has been a really wonderful being able to explore in the areas, you know, where it's mostly connected to the place of my fear, to be able to explore that in pleasure with him.
And also that just the sheer level of openness and communication. She is incredibly good at asking for what she wants sexually. Incredibly good at it. In fact, I would argue to say that she's better at doing it sexually than in any other area of her relationship, of her life. This has, you know, helped us continuously grow and evolve our sex with one another. We're also both incredibly flexible. She spoke about the being dominated component, but she's also really good at taking the reins and, you know, and playing with dominant energy herself. And so, like, I feel like together we're both able to really play with a certain flexibility and fluidity in our sexual dynamic. And yeah, there's just a sense that there's nothing off limits ultimately. Or it's not to say that there can't ever be boundaries, but particularly because, you know, we've married one another now. We've relaxed into such a state of commitment with one another that if something comes up and it's just like, it's a no, it's generally seen as not now. You know, and that not now might mean not tonight. It might end up being not this month, not this year, for all I know, not this decade. But nothing actually really feels like it's 100% off limits. But that we're in this state of constant communication and constant change, and that there's a core desire to fulfill each other's desires.
Yeah, and I'm also hearing a desire of constant exploration together.
Yeah.
Commitment to growth.
Yeah.
So here's a big difference that was hard for me initially. So there were, you know, I have a very varied, wide and varied sexual history. And and at the very start of our sexual relationship, I hope this is okay.
I'm excited.
I had a hard time with feeling that I had some sexual partners who, from the very start, we just connected in certain places sexually that we didn't necessarily connect in every one of those places initially. And initially there was a part of me that's like, oh no, something's missing. How can, like, there's a loss here, there's a lack here. I have to give up in order to be with this woman. But what I found is, no, we're actually growing together. Where things that weren't necessarily, no, not everything was an immediate fit, but we're in a constant evolving path together, and things are opening up, blossoming in different ways in their time. And so whereas maybe in another dynamic there was more of an initial firework that was loud and explosive and then gone, this is a fire that just keeps burning and burning and burning and burning.
Wow, that's beautiful. I'm so thrilled by it. It's feeling like in all my interviews, this is like we're going to the peak level of orgasm, having this conversation. Is there something you really think we should talk about that we haven't been included yet in these conversations on what it means to create conscious love?
I have some thoughts, but see if there's something from
No, go ahead.
Well, one thing is that it's taken a lot for us to learn how to do that. To learn how to feel into one another and to have these silent check-ins with one another. We're both a force in our own way, but they're different ways. And it could be very easy and initially it was very easy, especially in these dynamics, for my energy to just take over and unconsciously push her out, or and I've learned to be able to, like, I'm clearly still heard. But to create a space and to listen in, make sure there's a space for her wisdom and her voice to be able to be felt into, to move at her pace, to come through. And that's simply because I can just dominate a situation or have that energy go doesn't necessarily mean that serves you, her, or me in doing so. So it's been this process of learning how to feel into each other's energy and the dynamic between us to find our right balance and what really allows us both to thrive. Because when we're both thriving, we both thrive. You know?
Yeah. I think that speaks a lot to the, like, learning to be more of the we from the I, right? And it's
been a big thing.
choosing to commit to each other, and in whatever ways, like living together, making decisions. It's, always checking in also with the we. So there's like the idea of having 3 relationships. There's my relationship to my life, his relationship to his life, and then there's our relationship. So when we talk about the needs, it's, my needs, his needs, and then the relationship needs.
Yeah. So there's that balance between the I, the you, and the we has been an ongoing process. I'd say it's a huge part of conscious relating, conscious love, because it can, you can go off balance in either direction. It can be so me oriented that the we isn't being properly taken care of, or you could be so we oriented that's like, wait, where'd I go? Who am I anymore?
And with the little one on its way, the we is going to be 4 of us. So it's going to be us and the we, right?
Yeah.
And our dog.
Yeah. Oh, so that's the fourth, the dog. Oh, yeah. What did it mean for your business wise, or what you're doing in your life to really also bond as a couple and making this creation? Have you seen an impact there?
Exploration.
Sure.
Yeah. So we have our own practice of once a week. There's this time committed for what we call sexploration. So just setting aside time for us to connect in very new ways, and sometimes with different topics, sometimes it's spontaneous, but it's a place that we put aside from our busy lives, no matter what's going on in our lives, to really be intimate with each other.
So I'm aware that a lot of couples, most, the longer they're together, the more likely they are to fall into certain ruts in their relationship and ruts with their sex. On the positive side, there's a sense that we know exactly how to get each other off, so to speak. But on the dark side of that, there's that sense of and so that's what we do. And so the spontaneity, the newness, all of those things end up getting lost. And so we've been really committed to not want that to happen. So we set aside that time, that regardless of what other sex we have during the week, that once weekly is about actively exploring, being in that state of discovery. Like tonight, we were supposed to be doing an erotic video shoot with her, 7+ month pregnant belly, and having a talented videographer friend film us while we get into sexy space with one another, which would be a new experience for us. I said he unfortunately is sick and we need to reschedule, but by the time this goes live, it will probably have happened. Most likely not for public consumption, it's for us. But it's, and sometimes it's smaller. It's like, oh, we got a new sex toy, or just something that allows us to be in the newness.
Show me your favorite porn.
Yeah. The constant creation of something new and bringing something new into it. How can people find you if they want to work with you? I know what Destin you are doing, but now we're having an unstable connection, it says. Yeah. Can you see me?
I'm sorry. I realized that we didn't complete that. So we started this exploration as our thing, but we have since turned it into an event for couples. We call it Sexploration, the ultimate date night.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I was assuming something like that was going on. Yeah.
So we created these evening events for couples only, to bring couples together where they can get into sexy space with one another in a communal environment. So it's not an orgy. It's not come and play with other couples. It's come and play in space with other couples. So you're in that communal energy, but you're focused on your partner. And there's something really powerful about it. It's edgy for a lot of people. You have some couples who come who they just love things like that, and you have some couples who this is brand new. But it's ended up being a really beautiful experience. We've now brought that to 3 continents. Our biggest one that we love talking about, in January, we took Sexploration to a Tantra festival called A Taste of Love in Byron Bay, Australia, where we did this Sexploration evening for over 100 couples, so 200 something people, all in one space, being led through this creating of safe space and deep intimacy, and getting into that now-based state of exploration with one another. adoration, devotion, sexy play, etc. And it was incredible. So now we're committed to, in 2018, to take it to Japan, which will make the fourth continent. And yes, enjoying like finding different ways of bringing our work with couples, taking on a couple here and there to do deep work with over 3 months or 6 months, or taking a couple on what we call LoveEvolved, where we take them on an adventure to another country that's new for them, new for us, and in this new environment, let's create new ways of being with one another in relationship, and work on consciously creating the relationship that you want to have, consciously creating this sex life you want to have, all of it. And that's probably what's most exciting to me as far as our couples work.
I'm getting this to use one of the sex exploration. How you taking the business you had and just bringing it to your expertise together in a new way of really working with couples. That's so beautiful. So how do people find you? And please give us your name of your website. Or people
at the moment, we don't have a shared website. We do have a page up around LoveEvolved. Should probably be updated, which I think is destingaric.com/LoveEvolved. Let's just say it is, and if it's not, I'll create that page. We need to just get a site for it. But at the moment, it goes under my main website, destingaric.com/LoveEvolved. And you can find out more about us and that work.
Yeah. And when the book comes out, I will make sure that we have a link there too.
Wonderful. May 8th, I believe, is our published date. Yeah. Thank you. And the book is The Evolved Masculine.
Good. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's
so,
really
of course,
useful.
We would love to, if you're watching this and you've been really impacted by this or us, and you're in a committed relationship, we would love to speak with you. Maybe it's a fit, maybe it's not a fit, or whether it's about this LoveEvolved transformational conscious relating adventure, or it's or something else. It starts with a conversation, so do reach out.
And the adventure of next year is going to be in Japan or Bali.
Yes. Yeah.
That's really wonderful. Thank you so much, Destin and Elie, for being here with me today. Thank you. It was you're such a power couple, and you are really living your message. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. Really a pleasure.